allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Good evening. I'd like to welcome you all to tonight's school board meeting. All right, okay. If you have any comments that you'd like to make, there is a sign-up sheet in the back. And we are going to start with the agenda approval, deletions, and additions with Dr. Veracco.
Thank you, Mrs. Lessentine. We do have one additional item added to the agenda under Roman numeral 7E2 settlement agreement. That's under Ms. Gramala's section. The rest is...
So moved.
We have a motion by Dr. Malkow,
Second that motion.
second by Mr. Marshall. Ms. Suze?
Call for a
Oh,
vote.
sorry. Call for a vote. All those in favor? Aye. Opposed? Motion passes. Is there any correspondence tonight, Ms.
There
Suze?
is no correspondence.
Okay, then we will move on to liaison committee updates, and I will start with Mr. Marshall.
Thank you. At this time, I guess thankfully, we had no reason to enact the personnel interview committee. I have nothing to report.
Okay. Dr. Malka?
I have nothing with legislative, but with Lake Central Education Foundation, we are ready to send out to the teachers round 51 of the grant requests. And at our most recent meeting, we did talk with clarification about policies that office staff should use in relationship to unused grant money. And that was all.
Wonderful. Excellent. Thank you. And Ms. Suze?
For the Dollars for Scholars, we're just planning for homecoming for September 28th. And as far as the St. John Redevelopment Committee meeting, Mr. Kill gave a very nice presentation on TIF. So when they get that posted, I'll be sure to share it with you all.
Excellent. Thank you so much. And nothing on Cherville Redevelopment Committee, and Wellness Committee will reconvene in September. Correct? Okay, so moving on to official school board business topics, the consent agenda. Dr. Veracco.
Thank you again. Seek board approval for the minutes from our executive session on June 3rd, as well as our regular meeting on June 17th, and then also board approval of the claims, payroll, and extracurricular expenditures you received in your packets last week.
So moved.
Your motion by Mr. Marshall. Do I have a second?
Second?
Second by Ms. Suze. All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion approved. Next, we will go to the public comments. Are there any public comments at this time? Okay.
I did that. I did them both together.
Okay. Hearing none, thank you very much. We will move on to official school board business topics, the regular agenda with Dr. Veracco.
Okay, we're going to start out with some recognitions this evening. And so, Chris, are you handling the girls' track? Yep, okay. So if the board could reconvene in front.
Okay.
Thank you.
We're here to recognize the girls' track team and all of their accomplishments throughout the state tournament and at the state finals. Coach Frederick was not able to attend, but he gave me a little note to read. So the team tied a school record in wins. They won the DAC regular season championship for the 13th time in the 16 years of being in the conference. We won the postseason championship for the 11th time, extended the current regular season dual meet winning streak in the DAC to 19, won the 21-team LaSalle Legends Classic in Cincinnati, won the IHSA Sectional for the 27th time in 28 years, won the IHSA Regional for the 10th time in 12 years, and finished 8th at the state meet. LaTreasure Johnson, Maddie Rigg, and Makita Ellis all won individual DAC, sectional, and regional championships and placed in the top 3 at the state, with LaTreasure Johnson finishing as the state runner-up in the long jump, Maddie Rigg finishing 3rd in the pole vault, and Makita Ellis finishing and third in the shot put. Missy Fritz won the DAC and regional titles in the 200 and the 4x400 team of Megan Long, Lily Zubek, Abby Martisek, and Missy Fritz were the DAC champions. Maddie Rigg was also the DAC Most Valuable Performer. And he'd like to thank all of his coaches that that helped him along the way. Jeanette Gray as the throws coach, Dan McCabe as our pole vault coach, and Ann Widowfield. So, congratulations all of them. Girls, if you're here and as a car name's come on up and get your certificate and shake the members of the board's hands up here. First is Treasure Johnson, Nikita Ellis, Maddie Rigg. Sarah Schoonmaker qualified in the girls' discus for the state meet. In the 4x400 meter relay, Megan Long qualified. Lily Zubek was a member of 2 relays at the state meet, the 4x400 and the 4x800. Abby Martisek was also a member of the 4x400 and the 4x800 meter relays. Melissa Fritz was a member of the 4x400 and the 4x100. Kara Eklund was a member of the 4x100 meter relay team. Brianna Mitchell was also a member of the 4x100 meter relay.
Super.
Krista Kulas was a member of the 4x800 team. Riley Nestrick was a member of the 4x800 meter relay. Brooke Chaya was qualified for the IHSA state meet as well. Harley Davis. Taylor Kosick. Rachel Kajawa. Maddie Mercer. Wynn Schilling. Mackenzie Schilling. And Emily Thomas. That's all.
Aaron, are you going to do high school?
I want to make sure I get this right. Okay, so I am here to recognize Louise Talent. She's a teacher at Lake Central High School. And Louise Talent has been nominated by the American Association of Family and Consumer Sciences as the Teacher of the Year. That's a long department. Just a couple of things about Louise. She's been my advanced ed buddy for the last 5 years. Louise is always active at Lake Central. she goes above and beyond for staff, for students. She has a heart of gold. There isn't anything that she wouldn't do for Lake Central. So she's well deserving of this award.
Great job.
That concludes our recognitions for this evening. We want to thank you all for coming out. We know it's summer, but it's nice to recognize the outstanding achievements of our students and staff members. So thank you for coming out tonight. We're going to continue on with our meeting here in a minute, but if you have other things to get to, we understand, and this would be a good time for you to head on out, or you're welcome to stay for our meeting. Yeah. See, some people are still staying.
I don't want to get stampeded at the door. I'll fill.
Oh, he is.
We've changed we changed the form for recognition so that we're asking our principals to ask the sponsors to take a picture at their banquet or the event. That way we'll have all the students in the picture.
Good idea.
In other words, moving forward at the state track meet, we'd have a picture with all the competitors, and we could put that on closer to the time of it happening versus some people not being able to make it to the meeting. So
Now, would we also put a picture of Mrs. Talon out there?
we can if we have one.
I think
We
that
definitely
I
should.
think we should. So
Absolutely.
maybe we'll get that from Mr. Talon.
Yes, yes. Good stuff. All right, moving on, we will go with our Director of Human Resources and Personnel.
Not so
Oh,
fast.
sorry.
I have a
Sorry,
number
I saw
two.
number two. Sorry, I apologize.
That's okay. Really quickly, I just wanted to update the board because in addition to being the McKinney-Vento liaison, I am currently serving on a local committee, a regional committee, to look at how ESSA has changed the way we approach homeless youth and foster youth. And the biggest thing is the second part on the sheet in front of you, that beginning in April, we put together a group of administrators from the region to look at mainly how we can treat families who are in these predicaments in a better way than what some of us currently do from time to time. And so our main objective for the summer is to put together a presentation for our classified staff, that being registrars at buildings, secretaries, other people in the office who may be there when someone walks in, and that individual or individuals may not have the right paperwork to register their child, how we want them to approach that situation. So I just wanted the board to know, without getting into a ton of detail, you can read most of this stuff yourself, but we are putting together a presentation that can work for us locally, sandwiching a piece that we've asked the Indiana Department of Ed to do for us, so that there's a piece for our local staff members to see that the Indiana Department of Ed is explaining why the law exists, telling them that it is the law, and then we're going to bookend it with, on the front end, a couple of vignettes showing how students and families in these situations are impacted by being a foster child or being doubled up or being homeless for a time. And then at the end, we'll sum it up in our own way. And so I just wanted the board to know that in addition to being compliant, we also want to take it to the next step, and we want our goal to be making all of our schools kinder and gentler for people who are going through a rough patch.
Great.
And will that become then part of our board policy manual?
Well, it'll be an administrative reg. It'll be a training. So
It would be nice.
our objective would be to tape it the first time we do it, and then we would be able to recycle it at least for the current year, because all of us hire people mid-year. So if people, or let's just say that the day that we do it, some people are absent that day, they can still watch it in an archived form. we figure we could use it for at least a year, if not two, and then, of course, it needs to be updated as you go. But we think, just like the other things we do through the Global Compliance Network, that on our first staff day, we're having an in-depth suicide training for teachers, stuff like that. This can help us, too, with our climate of our schools.
Great idea. Any other questions? All right. Now, we will move on to Director of Human Resources and Personnel, Terry Mucho.
Thank you very much. You'll notice there's a big packet of board action for personnel. We are recommending that the following be approved. There's appointments, resignation, change of hours, extracurricular. The managers and the principals have been very busy.
Yes, they have. Do I hear a motion?
So moved.
Do I hear a second? Oh, I'm sorry, motion by Dr. Malkow. Do I hear a second? Second by Dr. Marshall, by Mr. Marshall. All in favor?
Thank
Aye.
you for
Aye.
the
You're
honorarium.
welcome. You're welcome. Anything for you. Opposed? All right. Motion
Thank
approved.
you very much. Just to also let you know that on the advice of Mr. Bagley, we are going to hire a new high school science teacher. The numbers in the classes are getting high. It is not an easy subject area for many of the students, and Mr. Bagley and those of us in central office felt strongly that that would be a good place to place a new teacher to help the kids in the areas of science.
Excellent.
My third item is to just let you know about a new law that came out in May about professional growth points for teachers. It has changed somewhat as of July 1st. They wanted at least 50, it takes 90 PGP points for a teacher to get their license renewed. And so they wanted everyone to have their licensing in by June 30th. That way we could still go under the old law. But the new law is asking the teachers to have at least 15 PGPs in some sort of professional development with an externship with a company. And they want it to be on careers. Well, that's a little bit difficult for some of the teachers to be able to do an externship of 15 hours. So we strongly encouraged our teachers to at least get one PGP point in before July 1st. I sent out a notification. I sent out a second notification with frequently asked questions. I sent out 1/3, gee, I hope you have at least one PGP point in your Elvis, so that they could go under the old law. They have not given us any type of materials to know how we're going to do this externship, so we're a little leery about that. That's why we wanted our teachers to go ahead and start their PGPs before this new one came in. They still can do college work, they can still complete a national board and do continuing education, but we want it to be meaningful for them, and we just weren't quite sure what this externship was going to mean. So that was the new law that just came out. They like to keep us busy. My fourth item today is at your places. I placed your new handbooks for the 19-20 school year for administrators, transportation, field trips, classified, custodial, and food service. You'll notice any of the changes are either in bold or with yellow. And if you have any questions on those after you have a chance to look them over, I'd be happy to answer those for you. But each of the directors took some time and looked them over and made some of the necessary changes.
Looks good.
Thank you. Any questions? Then I am happy to introduce Chris Enyard, who is going to give us our spring season report.
Thank you very much. At your seats, you had a packet given to you. The first page talks about our athletic participants this year. We had 132 females and 148 males for a total of 280 spring student athletes. And of those 280, 118 of them received the Scholar Athlete Award, which means they maintained a 3.66 GPA or higher during the season, the school year. On the next page is a recap of our June Athletic Conference Awards. Our girls softball were conference champions. Tennis was tied for second, and track was, as you heard earlier, was champions. And we also won the All-Sport Trophy, which you keep points throughout the year. The school with the lowest number of points, 1 for first, 2 for second, is given the All-Sport DAC award, and the girls won that this year for all the seasons combined. On the boys' side, baseball finished second, golf finished fourth, and track finished fifth, and their all-sport standing was fourth. Our postseason results, for the girls, we hosted the IHSA sectional and lost in the sectional championship game. Girls tennis lost in the sectional semifinals. And as you heard, girls track won the team sectional and regional championships and finished 8th at state. And then at the state meet, again, the Treasure Johnson placed second in the long jump, and Keith Ellis placed third in the shot put, and Madison Rigg placed third in the pole vault. On the boys' side, our boys' baseball team won the sectional and lost in the regional championship game. Boys' golf advanced to the regional meet, and we did host both the IHSA sectional and regional tournaments this year. And then boys' track had several participants advance from the IHSA sectional meet to regionals, but none qualified for the IHSA state meet. On the next page is just a recap of our unified sports. We increased our membership again of those that partners and athletes. We're up to 47 members on the unified track and field team, and they finished fourth in the IHSA sectional. Again, a team best in the 3 years that we've had the program. On the next page is our income. Gate receipts, we brought in $26,487. Tournament fees, we brought in $5,840. That's from golf invitationals, baseball and softball tournaments that we host. And then fundraisers and fees that the coaches collected through the season was $110,818.01 for a total of $143,145.01. And then on the last page is our expenses of the spring season. Game workers was $6,320. Officials was right around $12,000. Field and facility maintenance was $1,000. Johnny on the spot was $1,285. Those go out by the JV baseball and soccer fields to give them an extra restroom out there, as well as by the tennis courts, so they have something a little closer than the soccer field. So that way, if they need to use it, they can, but they do have running water at the softball field and the soccer field to go to if they prefer that. Equipment and team gear was $90,499.27. Miscellaneous this spring was $26,666.78. The biggest chunk of that was purchasing football helmets. In the spring is when we purchase them for the fall. That's when they have all their deals. We had a lot that were retiring. Football helmets are only good for 10 years as long as they continue to pass inspection. So we replaced a lot of football helmets this year with a new Shut helmet, and those were at $14,351.52. And then the spring banquet meal was $5,610 for a total of $296.90.
It's really close.
So again, we always try, what we bring in, we try to put back out to the programs and the kids. Although we can get much closer to that.
Absolutely. The only question I have is under miscellaneous, it says coach fees. What would that be for?
For the state organizations, like the Baseball Coaches Association, softball, track association.
Sure.
We pay for the fees. That's the way our kids get the all-state honors at the end and are up for like academic all-state and all of that.
Excellent, thank you.
And I had a question for you, Chris. And I should probably know this, but I don't because I'm not into golf. But where did you hold the golf competitions, the sectional, regional?
We host, all of our golf matches that we host are done at Palmyra.
Palmyra.
We hosted the sectionals at Palmyra, and then this year the state moved the regional out of Lafayette, and we actually hosted the regional at Sandy Pines.
Oh, okay.
Something right, they wanted those teams from
Right.
Indianapolis all the way to South Bend all come there, so we wanted something a little closer off of 65. And we host a couple tournaments during the year at Sandy Pines, just to try to pull teams from Fort Wayne.
Yeah.
The boys have some teams from St. Louis that come over. So.
And may I ask, where is Palmyra?
Palmyra,
Uh-huh.
right by Midwest, golf
St.
course
John.
right off of,
Oh,
and then Sandy
Lincoln
Pines is in the Mock.
right, I knew where it's, okay.
It's a little further to,
I hear it's a good course.
yeah, it's a great course for a regional format.
Question? Chris, when you talked about purchasing football helmets, to the best of your knowledge, have we entertained any type of upgrades with concussion being the optimum word out there, with new football helmets? Is the product that's being offered showing any upgrades, obviously at an additional cost?
The shut helmets we purchased this year have the highest concussion rating on them. So we usually purchase the top end.
Right.
Not the top end, that's $1,000 an helmet. These are about a $500 helmet when you buy them in bulk. And we were able to trade in some Zenith helmets and get them for like $150 each. So we purchased a lot of helmets this year. We upgrade that as well as just shoulder pads too.
One other quick question. As we drove in this morning, or this evening, excuse me, quite a few cars in the parking lot. A young lady crossing the road told me we're having a volleyball session out there. Can you explain what might have been going on?
Yeah, they were just having a summer quasi tournament. I mean, just play some games. They've been having their open facilities for so long, so they just had some schools come in to play some volleyball games here at the school from 4 to 10 tonight. Just like we host a basketball summer league as well.
Yeah. Thank you.
No problem.
Anyone else? Any questions? Thank you so much.
Thank you, Chris.
Thank
I
you.
appreciate it. We also are lucky tonight to have Jen Chad from our Athletic Booster Club. Yes. Great. Thank you.
Good evening, and thank you for allowing us to come. On behalf of Lake Central Athletic Boosters, I would like to present Chris Einhardt with a check for $26,100.
Wow. Thank you.
For those that don't know, those funds come from what we call Support the Tribe. It's a fundraiser that we hold in the spring, and it's a dinner raffle night, and all athletes are asked to sell or purchase things to go, and we appreciate those of you that were sponsors and our local sponsors as well.
Thank you.
Thanks for all that you do,
for all
Jen.
you do. Appreciate it.
A lot of hard work. Yes.
All right.
Ms. Chad, I believe you had 3 boys that are in football, right?
2 that have gone through LC, and I have an incoming freshman.
Nice.
So I'm also in the right. So we appreciate the football helmet.
I bet. Thank you for all you do. We appreciate you.
Yes, for sure.
We really do. Right, moving on to the Director of Primary Education, Teresa Schoen.
Thank you. My first item is to seek your approval of professional leave request included in your packet.
So moved.
We have a motion by Mr. Marshall. Do I have a second?
Second.
Second by Dr. Malkow. All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion approved.
Thank you. My second item is just to share some information on 2 summer professional development events that we have planned for elementary teachers. 7th, they can attend one of those, and of course, we will get a sub to cover their class. So that's the first one, and then the second one is on August 1st, and it is a one-day workshop that's presented by Maria Walter. She is one of the co-creators of the Next Step Guided Reading Assessment, which we will be using several parts of that to use for our dyslexia screener. So she will be working with reading specialists and language arts committee members on using data to provide small group differentiated reading instruction. Specialists will go back to their buildings and they will work with the teachers in their building to share that information with them with the support of those language arts committee members. So you said it was the
Any
reading
questions?
teachers working with Maria Walters?
Yes.
Just the reading teachers,
Yes.
reading specialists?
Maria is a first grade teacher in a school district in Illinois, so her availability is very limited, but she is excellent at what she does, excellent speaker, comes very highly recommended. The professional educators, I don't know what the other P stands for, something.
Okay.
And so she will be at Valpo in the fall, and we'll send several teachers to see her there also.
So this is a more intense
Yes.
assessment.
And
you said
focused
it's
on what we use and have, and,
continuation.
yeah.
You said to help identify what, did you say?
Well, the next step,
dyslexia?
guided reading assessment, and I have planned for August to share the law, the new law with you, and then also how we are meeting it. But just to give you a little bit of information, the dyslexia screener, we are using most of those components from their assessment for, right. But also, since we're already collecting that data, then using it for what we do is help kids learn to read.
So dyslexia is no longer a medical diagnosis, it's a school.
We only screen them as a student who has the characteristics of someone who might have dyslexia. No, we do not, that is still diagnosed by a doctor.
Okay.
Anybody else? All right, thank you so much. Moving on to Director of Secondary Education, Sarah Castaneda.
Thank you. For my first item, I am seeking your approval for the professional leave request as presented.
Move to approve.
We have a motion by Ms. Seuss, second by Mr. Marshall. All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion approved.
Thank you. For my second item, I am seeking your approval for the field trip request as presented.
So moved.
We have a motion by Dr. Malkow, and I'll second that. All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion approved.
And then for my last item, I just wanted to give you an update on state testing in regards to iLearn. The iLearn scores by Indiana Code were supposed to be released today, July 15th, in order for parents to view their child's results, review them, and then if they wish, submit a rescore request, which has pretty much been the standard protocol with iStep in years past. Since iLearn is new this year, though, the state has to go through the process of setting scale scores, basically the range of scores they could potentially fall within, as well as where the cut scores are for the different proficiency levels. So if you recall, it used to be pass plus, pass, did not pass. Now we have 4 categories: above proficiency, at proficiency, approaching proficiency, and below proficiency. This week, the Department of Education is meeting with educators to determine what those proficiency levels are and to set the cut scores and the ranges. And then all of those recommendations will be taken to the State Board of Ed at a special meeting on July 25th for their approval. Unfortunately, the rescore request window is open from today until July 31st. And before I go any further, I'm just going to say, don't shoot the messenger. So because the state has not yet set these cut scores, all parents are going to be getting from us in order to potentially view scores and request a rescore is the numeric score. We won't be able to tell them if they're at, above, below, or approaching proficiency. We won't be able to even tell them the range of the score so they can maybe gauge where their kid might be in terms of proficiency. And so that's going to be very difficult given that most parents gauge that by if they're close to the next level, that's when they want to submit a rescore request. In addition, what's going to make this a little more difficult this year is that in prior years when you were submitted a rescore, scores either stayed the same or they went up. New this year is the potential for it to go down. And if you had a little more information, then maybe once you saw your child's written portion, you would still want to take that chance because looking at it, you would say, you know what, I think this didn't get scored properly. I believe that the score is going to go up, but we can't give them that. And then what's going to make this even more complicated is that in years past, we would push out through Skyward an access code, so in the comfort of their home, the parents could look at the written portion and determine if they wanted to request the rescore. They don't even get that anymore. What they have to do now is we are going to inform them that they can email their principal. They can set up a meeting to come in and view the scores through the principal's account. And then if after looking at it, they want to submit the rescore request, the principal can do that for them. And since they're looking at test materials that haven't been released yet, they also have to sign a non-disclosure agreement per the state. So, as of this evening, since it is July 15th, we have not yet received our iLearn numeric scores from the state. However, once those post, we'll send out a school messenger and try to explain this as best we can. If any parents have any questions, we are going to put in there to please let us know, because we understand that it's complicated, and we're going to also apologize for the inconvenience, though it's not anything that we created here at Lake Central. So final results will come back to us on August 15th with all of the information, and then should get reports that can be sent home to parents sometime in September. I am hopeful that at least when the State Board of Ed has their meeting on July 25th, though that only gives us a few days at the tail end of the rescore window, we might be able to push out a little more information to parents to help them make a decision and maybe set up a meeting if they feel that it's necessary. Any questions?
All we can do is just shake our heads.
Right,
No,
right.
How did the iLearn testing go? I mean, I heard things about the iRead, and I heard that it brought many, many of the younger students to tears.
So in terms of the new vendor AIR, I will say testing ran much more smoothly this year than I've seen it run in the past few years with Pearson, so that part was welcomed. The problem is that, they sold us all on the fact that it's a single test window, but the test then ended up being very lengthy, and so same as you heard about the iRead 3, some of our younger students, I remember in particular one day I was at Watson in the morning overseeing testing, went over to Grimmer since they're connected and the middle school starts a little bit later, came back and there was still a poor group of third graders that were sitting on that first language arts test, and it had been so much time had gone by. So I think the frustration is the length of the test.
Sarah, I have a point of clarification for my benefit at least. Hopefully other people will benefit from this. IDO, Indiana Department of Education, is listed, and the State Board of Education is listed. Can you differentiate between them for me to clarify that?
Sure. The Department of Education is Dr. McCormick's group that basically oversees all of education in Indiana. She's the one who helps make sense of the laws that are passed by the legislature. She is the one who provides us with all of the resources for curriculum, assessment, you name it. They're really the driving force. But the State Board of Ed is the group that essentially has the power. That is the group that's appointed by the governor's office. And so a lot of what the Department Ed is doing has to be approved by the State Board of Ed.
Good.
So they're more of the legislative aspect of it, whereas the Department of Ed, the IDOE, is the more functional piece of it.
Good. With that in mind, then, it stipulates here that IDO is going to provide cut scores, test results to the State Board. Does IDO actually reach down and contact people such as yourself for input, I hope?
Yes, they actually work with educators. They put out mass emails every year asking if administrators at central office, building level administrators, and teachers would like to volunteer to be a part of the cut score setting, test development, you name it. We actually submit pretty regularly for people to join up. We've had several teachers this year that were part of some test development as well as some of the scoring process. I'm not sure if we have anyone who's slated to go down for the cut score setting, but it is representative of the field.
Good. Thank you very much.
You're welcome.
Anyone else? All right. Thank you so much. Appreciate that. Next is Director of Special Education, Becky Grimala.
My first item tonight is to just update you now that we are officially separated from the school town of Munster with the Westlake Cooperative. We did have some staff members that we've had transitioned to Lake Central who previously worked in Munster. So we had 11 certified staff members who previously worked in the school town of Munster that have transitioned over here to Lake Central. They were moved into open positions that just sort of naturally occurred, or we did create some new positions based on student need. They were welcomed by their principals. I have to give a huge thank you to our principals because they really reached out to those teachers as soon as they heard they were coming over and welcomed them to the building, set up meetings with them. The teachers have really appreciated that as, a transition that maybe some of them didn't necessarily want to make. We did move all of their materials from the school town of Munster if they wanted us to, so we kind of gave them that option, so we helped with the physical move. We are inviting them to attend new teacher induction. While they are not new teachers, they are new to Lake Central, and there are procedures, there's technology, there's a lot of things that are different for them. So they will be participating in that. We are also giving them the option to have an assigned mentor teacher. Again, they're not new, but there are a lot of differences as you transition to a new district. And then we've been working on, actually, Mrs. Castaneda has been a huge help in getting, a lot of our teachers are at the secondary level, so she's been helping them get access to the curriculum maps, getting them set up with department chairs so they can kind of be ready to go for the beginning of the school year. So that's what we've put in place for our certified staff members. We also have right now 16 paraprofessionals that will be coming over. We were thankful for those folks because we had almost 20 openings at the end of the school year for paraprofessionals. So this gives us an opportunity to bring in experienced paraprofessionals and hopefully do less new hiring than we've done in past years. And they've been placed in either open positions that we had or placed as permanent subs. And so we're finalizing those placements now and working with the principals on getting all of those folks placed. So we should have a pretty smooth start to the school year with some wonderful staff members that we're happy to have with us here in Lake Central. So.
Excellent. Any questions?
They've been coming in your
You've
board
seen them
packet.
all the
Yes.
way through.
Yeah. So there were some that came in June, and there were, I think, a couple in this one as well. And then my second item is to seek your approval for the settlement agreement that was included at your stations tonight.
Do we have a motion?
I would like to make a motion to approve that agreement.
All right, we have a motion by Mr. Marshall. Do we have a second?
I'll second that.
Second by Dr. Malkow. All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion approved.
Thank you very much.
Thank you. Next on our agenda is Director of Facilities, Bill Ledger.
Thank you, Ms. Lessentine. I have 3 items tonight for the board. 2 I'll be seeking your approval on. My first item is to seek your approval to award and execute change order number 1 for the Bibbage and Watson vestibule projects for Larson Danielson. This is a deduct change order for $3,500, and that was due to the buyout and award for some of their subcontractors. They were able to save some money, and we'll put this back into the allowance for the projects, this $3,500.
Excellent. Do we have a motion?
So moved.
We have a motion by Dr. Malkow,
Second?
second by Ms. Seuss. All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion approved.
Thank you. My next item is to seek your approval to award and execute change order number 1 for the Grimmer Roof project to Booth Brothers Roofing for an additional $80,869. This is, at the ward, we're doing 2 main large sections of roof, but Grimmer's got many different roof planes in it. And there's one like in between the 2 that's not leaking, but it needs replaced, and logistically it makes sense to do it now. We have money in there for a budget for next year's roofing, so it's gonna be cheaper and more efficient to do it now. And he's able to get me another crew this week, so we just like to go ahead and do it. It's over the locker rooms and a maintenance area, so we'd like to just go ahead and do this while we're up there doing that. And we'll just take the money that we had put aside for next year.
Okay. Any
Move to approve.
questions? Oh, sorry. No questions? Motion? We have a motion by Ms. Seuss. Do I have a second?
Second.
Second by Mr. Marshall. All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed?
Bill, can you clarify for the board how much that roof will be completed after this summer and what's left for next year then?
Next year, we did a large section in 2011 with the cafeteria and the kitchen area. I believe the gym was done in about 2005, I think. And then we'll be going, the only thing that'll be left after this summer will be the library and about a little bit of where we're doing down the, we'll be doing the east. We'll be doing all the east end this year, and we'll take back a little bit of the west end next year. So I'm gonna say probably about 75% will be within the last 15 years after this year.
Great.
Are the rest of the roofing areas on the building in decent shape?
Everything that was done since 2005, yes.
But I mean the untouched areas, I mean, are they going to be leaking like we had at
They
the
weren't
others?
leaking, the main leaks were what we're doing right now.
Okay.
Thank you.
May I make a comment?
Thank you.
Sure.
On the Bibbage vestibule upgrade?
Yes,
or
sir.
the security there, I'd like to compliment the individuals involved. I've had an occasion to drive past Bibbage on the weekend, Saturday and Sunday, and I've seen vehicles parked out there. Compliment them on their diligence.
I
If
will,
they're working Sundays and Saturdays, I
I
don't
will
know.
do that.
And I believe they were there 4th of July, too.
They were,
Are we allowed to go check and see what it looks like?
no.
If you take us
I mean, if we can make an appointment.
Okay, you would take us?
Yes.
Okay. How about the one at Watson? Can we go see that? No?
Janice doesn't own a helmet, though.
Well, thank you, Howard. I will definitely pass that on.
Really.
Okay.
My final item is just an update. I'll kind of segue from Mr. Marshall. In your packet, you received kind of the update of all the projects that are going on. I won't bore you with the details of what's complete, but just to give you an update on what's not. Here at the high school, we've got a little bit left up in the upper freshman center. We did a bunch of remodeling, and I think 4 classrooms, took away an old office, and we did some VCT tile. We'll finish that this week. Just some painting left there. We have to upgrade some controls at the old freshman center area. Parts are ordered, and that should be in here next week. The band tower, with everything outside, as you all know, with the record-setting rain in May and June, everybody's behind. Roofers, concrete, pavers, band tower. The band tower is supposed to be delivered this week, but it looks like it's going to be delivered next week. I've been in touch with Mr. Smith. He's all set. It's going to take 3 to 4 hours to put it in. It's a very simple process once it's arrived. So we're hopefully having it by the end of next week. Clark Middle School, we're upgrading some software there for the controls. That went down this year unexpectedly, so that's supposed to be in here by the end of next week, hopefully. Grimmer, the roof, as I said, we're going very well. We should finish with that first section of the shop and fine arts area. That's the worst section because it's also over a main mechanical room with all the penetrations. But we should be done there Thursday, and we should be moving down to that roof we just approved today and moving on. And we should, if weather holds, we should be substantially complete with the entire project right around the start of school. So if the weather holds, we'll be in pretty good shape there. Water line in the teacher's lounge started leaking bad there right at the end of the school year. That we finished today. The Kaler track surfacing, it's going on. I don't know, weather looks bad tomorrow, but he's got 2 more days to put the coat on, and then it has to cure for about a week, and then they'll stripe it, and that'll be done. So we'll be done in this week with everything except for the striping. Bibbage, as Mr. Marshall said, we've been working there. The asbestos put us about a week to 10 days behind, but everybody is working some weekends and stuff. We are taping drywall right now, and we hope to have all the drywall taped by the end of the week, and we'll start painting next week. And the flooring around the whole perimeter is about 80% done, and so we'll start painting ceilings next week over there. The modulars, we're going to take the modulars down here this week, so they'll be going away this week. They'll be done by the end of this week. Holman, as you know, we did acquire the house behind Holman here about 3 weeks ago. And I actually we had an asbestos survey done of the house. It came back clean. I got the report back Friday afternoon, and I turned the permit request to the town for demo this afternoon. So we're hoping to get that permit, and we'd like to get that demoed before school starts, so it's safe and out of the way and behind us. So that's kind of the plan there. So as soon as we get the permit, we can get going on that. Watson, we're about a week ahead at Watson compared to Bibbage because of how the asbestos went. We've had all this, we started ceiling grid, we did that Saturday. We're all painting the main office. We should have the ceiling grid and lights in by the end of the week, and we're going to start carpeting on Monday, a week from today. We also are patching and painting the west soffit, which we did the east last year. We should be done at the end of the week, and we're doing some minor carpet removal in the nurse's office. That should be done this week as well. Transportation Center, we are paving. We will finish paving there Wednesday of this week, and we'll stripe the lot before our auction on Thursday, the 18th. And then at the TAP building, we are installing a linoleum flooring in the classroom area this Thursday and Friday. So that's the update. Any questions?
So Bill, do you know when your custodian meeting will be? You always have that breakfast.
The breakfast, yes, I'll send it out to you guys. I believe it's I will make sure all of you are invited. I can tell you that, Dr. Malkow.
I always
I will definitely send out an invitation to everybody. My secretary and Debbie Caldwell made me plan it like at the last day of school, so.
So you have it, okay.
It will be August 1st at Clark Middle School.
Oh, okay.
And I will send out an invite to everybody at the table.
And, there's something else. Oh, with the work that's being done at Watson, that doesn't change anything with arrivals, dismissals, procedures like that?
None of the arrivals or dismissals at either school will be changed. It'll just be changed how you access the main offices will be located, how you get into the building through the main office.
Thank you very much.
Thank you.
And next, for Director of Business, Dr. Rocco will be taking Mr. James' spot.
Yeah, I get to talk a little bit about money tonight. So, as you know, twice a year, Rob transfers money from the textbook rental fund back to the general fund, and this is the portion of parental payments. When they make their payments, it's not just for textbooks and workbooks, but it's also for other course fees. And so, since they're not textbooks, that money really belongs in the general fund, because it's the general fund from which, or the education fund, I should be calling it now, from where those bills actually get paid. So the fee, the non-textbook portion for the 6 months from January 1st through June 30th of 2019, $60,270.33. Rob is requesting your approval to transfer that money from the textbook rental fund to the education fund.
Move to approve.
We have a motion by Mr. Marshall. Do we have a second?
Second.
Second by Ms. Seuss. All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion approved.
Thank you very much. His second request is for the board to approve the 2019-2020 course fees that you received last week.
So moved.
We have a motion by Mr. Marshall. Do we have a second?
Second.
Second by Dr. Malkow. All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Approved.
That's excellent. And his final item is to talk about some donations that Lake Central is getting. And we'd like to recognize the Lake Central Robotics Club received donations of $400 from Engenberg Exteriors and $200 from Tapster Robotics. The Lake Central High School Auto Shop received a donation of a 2010 Volkswagen CC Sport and a 2013 Volkswagen Jetta from Highland Volkswagen. The cars have an estimated value of $2,500 each and will give students exposure to work on these different makes. And then finally, the Lake Central High School Music Department received a donation of a piano from Judith Monks. The piano has an estimated value of $1,700, and administration recommends approval of these donations indicated.
Move to approve.
We have a motion by Ms. Seuss and a second by Mr. Marshall. All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion approved.
Thank you.
Do we have no public comments? Hearing none of those, we will go on to board comments and consideration of future agenda items. We'll start with Mr. Marshall.
Thank you, and I'm going to take this opportunity to pass. The summer's going by so quickly.
All right. We'll move to Dr. Malkow.
I really have nothing else to say. Thank you.
Okay. Ms.
I have
Seuss?
two things.
Okay.
When is the new teacher induction? What morning is that?
August
Does anybody know?
5th and August 6th.
Are you sure? The corresponding day from last year was Tuesday, Wednesday, not Monday, Tuesday. That's why I'm asking.
All right, well,
I'm
you can look that
99%
up.
sure. Yes, August 5th and August 6th. The welcome breakfast is August 5th from 8 to 8:30. And then the administration actually is also catering the lunch in the afternoon from 11 to noon. So if you can join us for either of those.
So it's the 5th? Because I have down the 9th. I don't know where I got the 9th from.
No, 9th is the blood work day.
Yeah, that's
One of the blood work days.
Teacher
So it's the
institution
5th,
or
not the
something?
6th, though.
Yes, Monday, August 5th, welcome breakfast from 8 to 8:30, and then the luncheon from 11 to noon. If you can stop by for either, we'd love for you to meet our new staff.
Thank you.
And it worked out like we did last year, that we could stop by and say hi and introduce. Okay, perfect.
All right.
And then the other thing I have is on Sunday, June 23rd, I stopped by the high school to visit the classic and contemporary cars that were on display at the LC Auto Show. Our new teacher, Mr. Fisher, he had nearly 100 auto enthusiasts that paid $20 each to show off their cars and answer questions for community members who came out to the auto show. Many of the cars were in perfect conditions with Studevakers, Chargers. Louise was out there.
Yeah. One of my friends from
She
church
had a
won
nice car.
one of the events.
Mustangs, Camaros, they were topping the most highly desirable cars on display. In my opinion, what was most impressive was the number of students who volunteered to work the event, including many graduating seniors. It is this kind of relationship that I know I was happy to see. I would like to also thank high school administration and Dr. Bracco for volunteering your time and talent to support this event. The next time I see Mr. Fisher, I'll let him know if he needs help. There.
Excellent. Nice, thank
Sandy,
you.
may I go with a quick
Go
question?
right ahead.
I just thought of this. One of the important programs that we are offering is the CPR classes. Are they being well attended? It's an important program.
Well, every teacher who wants to renew their license has to do it, so we probably run 7 or 8 of them a year.
Okay.
It depends on, they won't do it if they don't at least have a handful of folks, so.
I understand.
But
And the
they're
most
doing them
recent one
regularly.
ran, yes.
I
Well, that's
attended
good.
this spring to renew my license, and there were probably 25 people there.
Good. Thank you.
And our coaches are mandated to do it every year, not just when they renew their license.
Okay.
And then for me, I believe July 26th is the Cherville Corn Roast, if I have the date
That's
correct?
correct.
Friday night?
Yep,
Yes.
Friday. And do we have the St. John date? I forgot to look.
August 9th.
August 9th.
August 9th, thank you.
And that
Just wanted
has
to-
moved. It's at Clark Middle School.
Okay, so I just wanted to put those out there because I know those are awesome events, and I don't think we'll be, I know we won't be back before the 26th. And then just a huge shout out for the group that's getting together for the homeless and foster youth, because I don't know if, I think people think that everyone grows up like you do, or that your normal is everyone's normal, and until you meet some kids that maybe don't want to share their normal because it's so abnormal, is just huge for us. It just warms my heart that we are opening that up and making them invited and letting them know that we have a safe place for them. So I applaud that group that's getting together and
That's our
really
objective.
realizing that this needs to be done. These kids can't help where they're at and what's happening right now. So if we can offer them some comfort and hope, that's good stuff. So, board calendar of future events. Dr.
Sure,
Bracco.
believe it or not, 4 weeks from tomorrow is our first day of school.
Woohoo!
4 weeks. Not trying to put the damper on it for you summer lovers, but that's the reality. We are back here on August 5th for our next board meeting. And as Sandy mentioned, there are opportunities to volunteer at those corn roasts. The chambers do support our schools, and so it's nice for us to give back. We already have a number of people who have, from our administrative team, who have signed up to help, but certainly the more many hands make light work. So
That's right.
any help is appreciated.
And I think August 6th is Night Out Against Crime
It is.
Is it August 6th?
at Dyer and
Central
Sure.
Park.
And Sherrill.
In Sherville? Yep. All right, perfect. Do I have
Move to adjourn.
all right, do I have a second?
Second?
All right, we are adjourned.